New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment. Inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, and welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. As you can see today, I am only one girl. However, that doesn't mean I can't represent the masses. So Dr. Natacha is not with us today. She is working. And so I am holding down the fort with the help of two fabulous guests today that I will tell you about. One of them is our producer, Michael Mangus, Reverend Michael Mangus, and our other one is Reverend Gil Olmsted. Yes, he's married me. He's my husband. And so we're going to talk a little bit today. We're going to get a male perspective on all of this girls behaving metaphysically thing, because it's really not just a girl thing. We know that you boys do it too. You're a little more undercover, but welcome to
Well, thank you for having us on the show. Now, Gil, did she tell you about our honorarium, our 10 grand honorarium for appearing on the show?
Yeah, she told me what I was getting. It wasn't much.
I tend to think that just being with our listeners, our viewers, is priceless.
Oh, I think you're probably right.
Right?
It is. It's priceless, right?
Let's stay in that consciousness, boys.
Okay.
See, it's so much easier with girls. Boys go rogue. Girls.
Excuse me, I gotta pee. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's are you channeling Natacha?
You're channeling Dr. Natacha. That is not a male thing.
That was a girl thing. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Well, you're. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Stop.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop.
Oh my gosh. And it's like we're 30 seconds in and you're already hijacking the show, you two. Note to self. It's like they tell actors never work with children or animals because they're too cute. I think note to self, never work with ministers. Got it. Okay.
Oh, we're too cute.
We're too. Is that what you said? We're too cute?
No,
yeah.
She said children and animals are too cute.
Right. Okay.
All right, so we're going to stick with the show format, and what we're going to do first is we are going to pull a card, but I am going to let our guest, Gil, pull our first card. So this is the card pull of the week, because here in the spiritual world, sometimes we like to find a sign that shows us where we're going or where we've been or what it all means. And so we're going to pull a card and see what comes up.
Do you want to tell me where to pull, or you just want me to pull?
Wherever you feel.
We're sending you the energy.
Yeah.
Wow. Wondrous universe, walk in beauty.
Ooh, okay.
Do we know what that one's about? Do we care? Do we look in here?
No, we don't look. We just talk about it.
Okay. All right, I'm good.
I mean, we can look later, but generally, I feel like I'm on my other show. Generally, you kind of just do those things generically, and if it comes up for you, then you can share it with us.
Okay.
But so wondrous, what is it?
Wondrous universe. And then the sub thing is walk in beauty.
Beauty.
I think that's a really, I mean, that's been kind of a theme recently, just about the expansiveness and the possibilities of the universe, and seeing it show up in the different places where we are. And so for me, that kind of makes sense as a, something to be reminded of.
Yeah, I would say more about that though. Like, how do you see it showing up?
Well, just the sense that even in the midst of sometimes feeling a bit, unprepared, not really feeling like I just don't know everything I need to know, or I'm not able to do everything I'm supposed to do, and feeling the sense of the universe constantly holding me up and constantly providing for that space.
Mm.
And that's a wondrous thing. It really is.
Yeah. So welcome to those of you just joining us, and we just pulled our card of the week, which was Wondrous Universe.
There you go.
Wondrous Universe.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, so for me, beauty is I mean, it's not only when I think of beauty, first I think of nature, and also I think for me, I think of all the good in my life, and it's been some of my tendency is to look at all the brown and not look at all the green, the blues, the reds, and other things that are really good. I'm thinking of the so-called political situation here in the United States, how people are just some folks are just really freaking out about it. And it's like, it's going to be okay. We still have a lot of good around us, and that good is found in people. And that beauty is also found in people. It's in my relationship. I was talking to a colleague earlier about the one thing that I really treasure in my life is our spiritual community here in Akron, because they know me, warts and all.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in board meetings with me. They've seen me get upset. They've seen me, also say a few words maybe I shouldn't have said. And so, but they still love me, and that they encourage me to be my best. So, meeting with them on a regular basis has been very important. So again, seeing the beauty in my relationships and the people around me. So,
well, it's interesting that you bring up our political situation, because that's what came up for me when you said wondrous universe and the rest of it.
Walk in beauty.
Walk in beauty. Because I watched the Democratic convention last night, and the energy of the whole thing to me was such a energy of what we call into the world, just that excitement and that joy and the things we talk about anchoring. And for me, even in watching it though, like I almost was I don't want to say offended, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to use it right now. I almost was offended when they went low, when they went, to talk about Trump, or when they went to talk about something they don't like or whatever. I was like, really? Do we have to, And I think that's like what walk in beauty part means to me on some level. What you were saying, like, can we walk in the green and the brown isn't, you know, it's
Without brown is
well, without focusing on the brown, it's like, I think we've talked about it on our show, Gil, that we have tomorrow's at noon Pacific time,
3 o'clock Eastern here on your New Thought Media Network.
Excellent. But I mean, we've talked about it in terms of parenting. It comes up in parenting a lot because there's times when you hear yourself, or I hear myself, and I'm like, oh my God, can I say anything positive? Because I'm so focused on what the kid didn't do, or how he did it, or how it's wrong, or and it's like, can we walk in the light? Can we walk in the beauty? And I mean, so much of it I felt like was like that, but then it's almost like, like when you hear a good comedian, and like sometimes when they swear, it's totally perfectly fine, and it fits their personality and the thing. Other times you're like, you don't need it. You don't need to throw the F-bombs and the this and the that in there for, and it's like, can we just walk in the light?
And I think especially with children, and especially with young ladies, little girls, I think the whole idea of really encouraging them and saying, there needs to be some correction, but to point out also, I'm really proud of you. I think you're doing a really wonderful job. You're so talented. And I think, having again, a way of encouraging children instead of, always, I'm not saying that, that parents always yell at their kids, but that the whole idea of catching them doing something right, I think that that's also an important part of, being good stewards and leaving a legacy, because that's what we do, especially with our young ladies. We leave legacy with them. Being a man, what does it mean to be a good man? What does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to be the safest person man-wise in their life? For me, that's a lot about, again, really empowering, especially our young ladies. Very much into that.
I'm curious when you say that, though. When you say especially.
Okay.
I'm
Talk
curious.
to me.
I'm curious because, like, I don't really see a difference. I feel like it's important to empower both, maybe in different ways, and based on media or based on different things that they go through in the world. But I'm like, when I hear you say that, it sounds like you think, like, for some reason there's a little extra something that should happen for girls.
Yes. And the reason being is because of the societal pressures around them. The stigmatisms, the stuff we call it race consciousness, is stuff that's out there that especially tells girls and young ladies that they have to be a certain way.
You don't think it's the same for boys?
I think it's a little better for young men. I think that there is still that stereotypical being macho that's still out there. But I think that men, what I've noticed over the past few years is there's more, the generation that's coming up is that more men are feeling their feelings. They're being more attentive. They're working on being gentlemen. I'm just saying that I think that with boys get more, I think that they get more affirmation also than girls. And that especially around around, and they have studies around this, especially around puberty, that little girls lose their self-confidence. And so what there needs to be is, during that time, again, supportive people, supportive adults around them to say, honey, you can still do what you want to do. You can be what you want to be, and you can have what you want to have. So again, that's my explanation, but that's what I think, that again, to really have young ladies and young girls again own their power, which I think men do that, I think, more naturally than women. So that's my viewpoint.
Okay, Gil, hi, what do you feel about that? And
Well,
and anyone out there listening, please
chime
feel
in.
free to comment.
Well, what I was thinking was, as you were speaking, Michael, that there is probably it's not out of line, I think, to think that we need to really be consciously aware of what the needs are, because I think that's something that we don't always do. But having looked at movies on toxic masculinity and having dealt with teenage boys, I have to tell you, it's I mean, it's all about the fits and the phone. This phone's cool, this one's not. It's like really deep, this kind of stuff. And so I think it definitely impacts all of our kids, for sure. And the other side of that is, yes, there's been a history, and we still live in a patriarchal society. So knowing that, when you first said something about, we need to support them more, it's that idea that it's like the whole issue we go through with, it's about, is it equal or is it equitable? And, sometimes girls have been given information that really doesn't make sense, or been asked to do things that don't make sense because of the patriarchal society, in which case we're doing the same thing for them that we do for the boys isn't necessarily accurate, but we need to do something equitable that lifts them to that. And I think it's the same thing we see in economic situations, the same thing we see in race situations, that it's about figuring out how to acknowledge whatever the prejudices, whatever the negative societal norms have been, and somehow bring equity to that situation as best we can.
Yeah. So, Robyn, how do you feel about this?
I think that I think that I agree with bits and pieces of all that's been said.
Bits and pieces.
I do. I mean, some things more than others. I think that it's challenging to put it in a box. I did a project with who's the big publisher, Simon and Schuster. Yeah. On self-esteem, where I went out and did research with someone with middle school kids, kids in 7th grade, kids in 8th grade. And, the difference, as they go through puberty, from where they were to where they are, was phenomenal. And it was across the board. It wasn't just women. Our girls, it was all kids, and just the difference between like the kids in 8th grade or 7th grade. Kids in 7th grade were all happy and all willing to jump in, and the kids in 8th grade were like all reserved and holding back and had all their own stuff going on. So I think it's across the board. I just wondered, I think that's, I'm not sure what I think about like singling out women more. I get it. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of stuff, um, and marketing and all and body consciousness and all that. But I also, like you said, Gil, I think about like the stuff that I see teenagers watching, and even like
Mm-hmm.
the normal stuff on YouTube. Like I happened to look at a video that one of our kids was watching, of a guy that was making turkey wings, and I was like, really, this is who you're watching? Because it wasn't just a guy in the kitchen cooking. He was like, hey, and it was like this big show of like, man, ha, and it's this thing, this showy thing that they seem to be very attracted to now. That seems to be like the YouTube influencers or the people they're watching, and it's interesting because, like you said, Gil, there's a piece missing, and I don't think it's in only boys. I think it's across the board, but we obviously notice it in boys because we have them. Um, there's a piece missing of like just a consciousness of um, what's the word I'm looking for?
What's real and what isn't?
What's real and what isn't, what's valuable, what's a like a moral thing, what's an ethic thing. Like, we keep asking our kids, like, what do you believe in, like when they lie to you or steal.
Who do you want to be? Who do you want people to know you as?
Yeah, and it's a really hard question. Like they can't, it's a hard question.
Well, I think those little nuggets, and I've noticed this in my life where adults have placed those nuggets in my life, and that a lot of times that they don't come to fruition right then, but that's kind of, again, the whole idea of, and we also don't think they're listening.
Yes.
Which, yeah, I mean, they're not, I mean, that's typical behavior. And that with being healthy, or hopefully healthier adults, that we can go ahead and we can plant seeds in there that even if we don't think that they're listening, that will come forth, that we hope that will come forth later on. So yeah, I just think, I think that the messaging, though, still, again, is still, the messaging is to empower our young ladies, and also to teach our young men, the men who are around, to teach our young men about what it means to be a man, that you can be fully masculine in yourself, and also be kind. You can be fully masculine in yourself, and also be powerful without treading on other people. You can be masculine and also not be not think that a powerful woman is a threat to you. I love the women around me that own their power. Mm-hmm. And that encourages me. That doesn't threaten me. And again, it's because I've worked on myself over the years. So,
well, but I think you're bringing up, what you're bringing up in terms of masculine, feminine, it's even deeper than that, because we can't just separate it into boy girl now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. As you two with your pronouns up there is more than he, him, they, she, her, and so it's really, it's not as much an identity of like, oh, the woman is the feminine and the boy is the masculine, as much as it's like what qualities are being embodied, and and as opposed to just describing it as masculine, feminine, it is much more about like kindness and equity and, things like that.
So the reason that I put my pronouns up there is so that others know that they're free to put their pronouns up there, that they're whatever that their pronouns are, that I will respect that. So that's the reason that I put those up there. It's not big He-Man. It's
No.
that it's to say, you know what, whatever that you want to be called, I'm willing to respect you and to be with you. And I get that with, it is, again, a blending of genders and a lot of other things that, there is not, you're right, there's not a black and white. In all people, we all have a masculine and feminine nature. So the whole idea of getting a good, of having a balance between those, and it's okay. Again, if you identify as male, it's okay to be a man, and also to have what are commonly called feminine traits. Having feelings, crying, being with your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for women, again, to be assertive, to be paid equally.
Yeah.
It's okay for them also to be in their power. So
Right.
that's what I encourage. I just think that's I think having good role models, good individuals. I was working with a young lady recently, and I recommended that she find. I did some short-term counseling with her, and I recommended. I said, I think what would be good for you is to find a mentor, somebody who you can confide with. That she's a young businesswoman. I said, somebody who's been in business, who has been out there in the world and can really, guide and direct, help you with your goals and, kind of guide and direct you. So I think having good mentors, and with both sexes, I think that's a good thing to do, is to encourage our young people, not only with mom and dad, but also to find individuals that will support them outside the family unit.
Well, I think it goes back to our card. You were about to say something, Gil, but I think it goes back to our card. It's walking in beauty, right? It's not teaching someone to be a boy or to be a girl and that it means X, Y, and Z. It's allowing those traits within them, that the beauty that is within them, the strength, the courage, the faith, the, diversity, the, magnificence to emerge, and supporting that in a way that allows them to be empowered.
To be empowered to be who they are, not who they think they should be.
Right.
The influences and the stuff that is available to kids now is, very different. Yes, you look at movies and things that tell you about earlier times, and there were the bad kids and the this kids and all that stuff then, and the ones that made fun of people, and all of that stuff has always existed. But now it's like that's the people who are idolized. Those are the idols, are the people that can scream about the awful things they've done and swear every second word, and that's who we like. Those are great people. It's like, is that who you want to be? Is that really what you want to show up as?
Well, it is something to ponder. I think we should take a break and come back, and we will continue this conversation or start a new one and see what happens.
Let's start a new one.
Okay. All right. And so let's do that. So grab something to drink and come back and join us right here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. I am Robyn Rice Olmsted, and I am here today with my guests, Gil William Olmsted and Reverend Michael Mangus. And we are having a good old time, but we are missing Dr. Natacha. And but we're going to keep this conversation going. We're going to have a good time without her because we know that's what she'd want us to do. So I was thinking about, and what's been on my mind is, in this conversation and before, just thinking about how different men and women really are. And, always when I think about that, I think about the men are from Mars, women are from Venus type books and things that we've learned along the way. And I thought we could just start by talking a little bit about that, and I'm going to start us off with a quote from John Gray, from Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And it's what he says is that men are motivated when they feel needed, while women are motivated when they feel cherished.
Absolutely.
You guys shake your head and say absolutely. Do you guys remember that? Like when you're dealing with a woman, with your wives?
So over the years, I've learned to listen more than I speak, that the women in my life really want to be heard, and not just the words, but they really want their emotions and to really just to be able to express, and just and also for me just to just be there to witness for me. And also I will say, is there anything, how can I support you? Is there anything I can do would you like a suggestion? Would you, rather than do the typical male thing of going in there and fixing it, which, I'm good at that. And that usually does not work. In that, the tendency that I've seen, especially, in doing, do premarital counseling, that tends to split couples apart rather than, so what I teach in premarital counseling is that, yes, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and to notice that, and to say that, there are some times that men just don't want to talk about it, that they need some time, they need some time just to chill out, and to, honey, I just need some time. And sometimes you have to explain it. Honey, I just need some time just to go think. I've had a really interesting day. I need some time to think about it, and then I'll come back and talk to you about it later. So, you're talking to somebody who's done, and, who's been through a lot of therapy, and, has read a lot of books, and has thought deeply about, my relationships, and also my relationships with women. So, that's my perspective. William Olmsted.
Well, as you started this and said you wanted to talk about it, all I could think of was, yeah, of course you want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it because we don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's too much sometimes, and we have these differences that can be pretty profound sometimes, and we can be having a discussion, Robyn, about something like when you're working on the computer and it's not working for you, and you're telling me you need to have it working now, but when I ask you questions, you get mad at me for asking you questions and asking you to give me information so I can help you make it work now. You know what I mean? And that's like, well, you just said you needed help to get this fixed, but you don't want it. And I realize there's the thing about being heard, but sometimes in some situations that doesn't even make sense to me. I don't understand. Why would you want to be heard in this moment when it's critical for you to get something done? Why don't you just want to find out what you need to find out? You could be heard later.
Well, I think those are two separate situations. Okay. So the one situation that at least the way I'm hearing it, the one situation that Michael's referring to me is sometimes I go to you and I'm like, I go to you and I'm like, I'm really frustrated about this, that, and the other thing that's happened in my day.
Right.
And that's when, when Michael says, sometimes I've learned to just listen and to then say, do you want some advice? Do you want a suggestion? Do you, how can I support you? What do you need? That's that.
Right.
So when I come to you and as a woman, when I come, well, that's always the way I come to you, but as I come to you with a situation like, oh my God, which is an emergency situation, right? Oh my God, I need the computer to work right now. And you're like, well, why isn't it working? I don't know, but I need it to work right now. Well, is the blah, blah hooked up to the blah, blah? If I knew that, I probably would have called you and said, the blah, blah isn't hooked up to the blah, blah. How do I hook it up again? You ask me questions that in that moment don't make sense to me. because if I had those answers or knew how to do what you were asking, or cared to learn at that moment, I would be able to have the bandwidth to take that in. But if I'm in the middle of a situation, I don't want to be mansplained. I don't want to hear how to make something work. I just want it to work. That's all.
Right.
Magic. Just but that's the way you guys are anyway in my world. Many times you're just magic, because you go and you go, oh, it's not working. Let me hook up the blah blah to the blah blah. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I don't want to be the magic man. I just want the magic to happen.
Right. And
I can't take it in. I can't, just like you guys don't have the capacity to talk in the moment where we want to talk. We just want to work it out and get past it. And you're like, I can't work anything out. I don't have the capacity to take it in. Or to do anything that you want in this moment. I need a break. That's when I'm like, I don't care where the A socket is in the B socket and what goes in it right now. Just make it work, or tell me to put it in this socket or whatever. But I mean, it's the same. I think it's probably the same frustration on a different level, if that makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah. And the frustrating part for someone, like when we're doing that kind of stuff and we're apart and separate, is if we were together, I would sit down and do the magic thing, but I can't do the magic thing over the phone. And the only way I can do the magic thing over the phone is through you. Right?
Yeah.
And so in my head, I'm thinking, reasonably, I need you to play along in order to help you make this happen. And I'm thinking, you want help to make it happen. Really, you do. You want it to magically change. And I can't facilitate that, from where I am.
Well, yes. And I mean, I use that loosely, but
I get what you're saying, though.
It's more in the moment of frustration where I think my brain reaches a point where I'm like, I don't know. And I'm in the midst of it, just like you guys reach that point when we go, oh, come on, let's talk. And you go, I can't.
Well, and it's even, I mean, I have the same experience with technical things sometimes too. I mean, where I'm like, forget it. I don't know what the heck's going on. It's making me crazy. And you know that because I've done that. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's not that I think it's somehow unique. It's just that how to handle, if that happens to me, I either do that and give it to someone else, or I breathe long enough and then I call them and say, help me figure this out. You know what I mean? And so, I kind of think that's where you're at, and it's not where you're at necessarily.
Well, yes, but I mean, if I go back to the quote that, men are motivated when they feel cherished and women are motivated when they feel needed, and women are motivated when they feel cherished.
Right.
It's like, so on some point it's got to, it's got to be that point. I mean, when I need you to do something, that's when, you men show up and go, all right,
Right.
And
then when you reject it, it feels it's like a, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
wait, just let me finish the thought.
Okay.
And then when, for me in that moment too, so if we go to the part about feeling cherished, even if you can't make it work, or if you need something else from me, if you were able to say, hey, okay, babe, let's just take a breath, we'll get through this. You got this, or something that makes me feel cherished. heard, thought of, that, because in that moment it's a balance. I get it. I get it. It's a balance, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the question that sometimes that I ask is, how can I, what do you want me to do in this moment? If you want me to fix it, then okay, I can do that. You want me to listen to you, then, because for me, I don't have, my mind reading skills still need developed.
Oh yeah.
So rather than try to guess, this is what I do is I go ahead and I say, okay, what do you need in this moment? If you need me to fix it, then hand the damn thing over to me and say, fix it. And I can do that. Or just listen. So I think it's, again, yeah, that's what I would, if I was being communicated to, that's what I would say is, how can I help? And then if just listen to me vent, or here it is, you fix it. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole communication thing, that sometimes I make assumptions about what is going on, to the best of my, and not even just assumptions in the negative way, just based on what I think I know, which is always dangerous.
Well, and see, and that's for me, that's one of the reasons I like working, when I do, I perform weddings here in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. And one of the things I really, like to do, again, is premarital counseling, not for the couple, but it reminds me of stuff that maybe I'm not doing in the moment for my, in my relationships. So it helps me probably more than it does the couple. I don't tell them that, but that's because it reminds me of what, and also the same thing when you do a sermon, right. That you go ahead and you talk about, for me, coming from the heart and really allowing myself to speak about things that I'm going through or I'm learning, or there's a higher bar that needs to be reached. And the reason I'm doing the lesson is for me and everyone else is listening in. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting balance and dance. And obviously, each couple or each person has to figure out, because it's, as my sister once said, about something, there are no rules and you have to know every one of them. It's, especially in a relationship of a long time, you begin, you get to know people's patterns and you think, and there's certain things you expect or certain things and I think for me anyway, my growing edge as who I am is to really be able to stand in who I see and not in what I think I know. Because what I think I know will generally fool me every time, and I think then we're not giving people the benefit of the doubt for them to live into and be more of who they want to be. And I think obviously you both have done a lot of work on your spirituality and, on your compassion. No, I'm not being funny though. I think that, that's a big learning curve for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it's yeah. And I think the world is calling it forth in all of us, and especially men, like you said, Michael. Like people are beginning to live more into their feminine, males especially, and it's become okay to cry and to whatever, not have to do it in a stereotypical way, And I think that's, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think too, again, being, answering the call of ministry for me, one of the things I've noticed is that, again, that stereotypical, I'm the man, I don't need anyone's help. And what I see in my profession is a lot of burnout, because when individuals do that, especially men do that, they're, especially during COVID, and after COVID, no wonder that some of the churches are experiencing shortages in ministers. And so for me, what I've learned to do is to get a support team of people around me to be able to talk to, my mentor, who I talk to. I have a scheduled appointment with him every couple of weeks. And he just lets me just talk about ministry, about what's going on in my life, and to have that kind of conversation. So to say that I don't need any help is a bunch of BS, because I do. And I've seen it again over and over again, where and I think that's what gets individuals in trouble, especially men in ministry, is when we don't have healthy places to share what's going on in our lives. And then unfortunately what happens is sometimes, men act out. So, the other thing too is have people that you're accountable to in a good way, and have people around you that, again, who notice the good stuff about you, not just the stuff that you need to work on. I'm really proud of you that you're doing that, or I really encourage you, and using words like that. And sometimes I need to teach people that, just saying, I'd like you to see, some, rather than, complaining about me, what are some of the good things that you see about me? Because I train people how to treat me. So,
Yeah, well, I think that's true, not only obviously in these spiritual realms, but I think that's what's being called forth in the world. And I think it's so great that there are systems that are beginning to support people like that. And
one more comment on that, though, and that is that we can't train people to do what we don't understand. So if we're not able to get to any of that in ourselves, then there's no way to share it with other people and invite them into it.
Right.
Well, and I think it goes to what Gil and I tell people, couples in counseling, that we are unique individuals with unique experiences. We all come with our own set of rules and regulations that we've been handed down over time. And, my experience is not the same as Gil's, from every little detail, and especially with new couples getting married, because they're going to find themselves fighting over things like how they load the dishwasher, because it's only been, what do you mean you do it that way? This is the way you do it. This goes on the top. This doesn't go on the bottom. And Gil and I are 20 years in and we still have that conversation. So, but it's being tolerant to that. And I think, again, this show could talk about this forever. These are endless topics, but I'm going to share one last quote as we go, that when men and women are able to respect and accept their differences, then love has a chance to blossom. And
Thank you.
I think that's the key to life. When we can respect men and women, or partner and partner, it doesn't matter, how you identify. If you're in a relationship, when you can respect each other's differences, that's when you really have a chance to open up and live into new possibilities.
Mhm.
So, speaking of possibilities, I want to thank you both for being here and being the male representative of possibility. And I thought I was going to ask you all what it was like to have women in your life that were girls behaving metaphysically, but I'll just have to have you back.
Well,
Go.
All right. So thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. And I just invite everyone to take that wondrous universe energy and live into the beauty that we know is right there, to take that out into your week and share it with somebody. And we'll see you next week right here on Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.